Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for taking out time to join this event, which is getting the most out of open source. So, to meet the present need of the hour, Zubi has come up with a sustainable ecosystem which can revolve around emerging technologies. And our aim is to provide it easily and to make it accessible for all the students out there. And we are really excited to begin this session with Ekta Mishra. So Ekta has been an outreach intern, and she has also been a GCI 19 mentor and a GHCI 20 scholar, and she's also the co-founder for Code for Cause. And thank you so much, Ekta, for joining. It's an absolute pleasure to be for us to be having you here.
Thank you, Khushi, for such a nice introduction, and congratulations to Zubi for completing its 1 year today and for its app launch also. About me, my name is Ekta Mishra, and as Khushi already introduced me, I have recently completed my outreach internship with Open Refine organization. Outreach is an open source program which runs like twice a year, and it selects about 50 participants in each cohort of this program, and mainly free and open source software organizations participate in that, and they select few interns like 50 interns, and they complete their 3 month internship with that open source organization. Along with that, I am also a co-founder and mentor over Code for Cause. Code for Cause is an organization which has two motives: to promote open source and open knowledge. And in terms of open knowledge, we target for the like many students face hurdles while their learning process. They don't know from where to learn, what is the exact path to become a developer, to become a competitive programmer. If they are stuck with like they want to participate in open source programs, they want to contribute in open source, but they are stuck. So whatever platforms we have created, like our websites, our small softwares, etc., so those all things are also open source, and we highly encourage students to come up and contribute with us also. And even the other mentors, co-founders of these organizations are connected with many open source organizations like JBoss, Mozilla, Open Refine, Open Wisp, etc. So if they want to connect with these kinds of organizations, we really help them and guide them for their first contributions and introduction with open source also. So that was all. If you really want to check out Code for Cause, so you can go to like Code for Cause YouTube channel, and the Code for Cause main page, codeforcause.org also. So I think like now we can start the session, go on to the
Yeah.
main topics we are waiting for. Okay.
So
So
I'll
as I think, yeah.
from the screen, and you can continue up with the session then.
Okay. So I want to like share the screen. Okay. Khushi, you can add it like, thank you, Khushi. So today's topic: getting the most out of open source. So directly, without like, don't jump on the main topic, we should start with the term open source. What open source exactly is, and why there is so much hype nowadays in market about open source. People ask that if you have some open source past contributions, if you have some experience with open source organizations, if you have mentioned something like that in your resume. So people really want to see if you have like that potential to contribute in a collaborative environment for the development. So coming on to the main word, open source. Open source software is a computer software where the source code is freely available to you under a specific license, which defines the copyright, like how you can use that source code, how you can modify, edit, etc. But mostly those license allow you to freely use the source code of the software. That means that you can use that software as you want, according to your need, according to your requirements. So you can freely access the source code. Along with that, you can edit, you can modify the source code with your customizations. For suppose there is a software that works for some system, you want to customize for the particular system. There is a software like OpenRefine works with reconciling etc and push the edits over Wikidata. You can customize it to push the edit somewhere else, some other open databases also. So open source provides you the freedom to edit, modify the source code also, and even after the edit and modification, you can redistribute that source code too. So when I say the word free, it can have two meanings, like free in terms of cost and free in terms of like freedom. So you all have must have heard this quote, like free as in beer versus free as in speech. So when I say free as in beer, it means that that particular thing is available free of cost. But when I say free as in speech, that means that that particular thing might cost you some money, something, it may be chargeable, but that provides you the freedom, that provides you the freedom. So that same thing applies to open source. There might be some open source softwares that are not free. So which are free, they are commonly termed as free and open source software FOSS. And some of the open source software may cost you, so they are chargeable, but they provide you the freedom. So freedom is what makes you more powerful in terms of open source, where you can get the source code, you can modify, edit on your own read, and you can redistribute to others, you can publish that open source with your licensing. So that is the power open source provides in your hand. It makes the software developer, it makes the developer more powerful. So this was all about open source, and I feel that most of the audience is aware about this term open source, but they are a bit like they have this foggy thought about how to proceed in open source, how they can kickstart their first contribution, how to choose the organization, why I should contribute in open source. That is a major question, why I should contribute. So move on to that topic of why open source. Why open source? These are the few points which I feel that for this particular thing you have to contribute to open source. In general, there are many other perks also for working in open source. For example, if you are working in if you are participating in some open source program, for example GSOC, MLH, Outreachy, RGSOC, etc., you get a stipend, you get swags, you get a lot of name and fame. So that are the additional fame, that are the additional perks of open source. But I don't really believe that one should contribute to open source for those things. Open source software has one of the major advantage, live project, working on live project. When you are in like second year, third year student, and you think like I should go for some internship in second year. At the end of second year college curriculum, most of the colleges make it mandatory that you should go for some kind of industrial training or internship. And in tier 3 college or tier 2 colleges, they students have like very high pressure on their mind that how to get a quality internship. So they get into trap of these industrial training institutes and some small startups or companies, where the companies ask them to pay to work in a live project. So this is kind of a trap. They exactly not providing you any industry experience. They are not going to provide you any kind of support or any kind of like development or growth in terms of your skills, or you will not be able to increase any of your skills in your resume. And the thing they will say that you will be going to work in a live project in a group of 10 to 12 people. So all of them is like a total lie. And that is not something industry experience in real terms. It's exploitation. It's exploitation of those students. And along with you, you will work with many other students having same problem as you. So if you really want to work in a live project, why don't you go for open source contributions? Whenever you contribute to a large scale open source project, that particular project is being used in daily life in like by thousands of people every day. They releases patches like every week or every twice a week, every month they release those patches. So if you have contributed to some particular open source project today, in a week or 2 week or month, you will be able to see that whatever feature you have contributed to that particular open source software has been published, and now you can see that particular feature being used by many other users. Some projects are also like industry level projects. So in that case, many enterprises, many industries are using those projects. For example, if I take example of JBoss community. So JBoss has middleware open source software. So they create middlewares mostly. So if you see Quarkus, if you see Knative, if you see Debezium. So these projects are not something that a person will use individually. It is a project that is used by some other projects also. So many industries are using, many companies, enterprises are using those projects. Second thing, mentor support. When you work for a firm, when you work for a company as an intern, you will not get the mentor support exactly, because whatever mentor will be assigned to you as an intern over that company, that mentor is exactly the employee of that company. He is not getting paid for mentoring you, he is getting paid for whatever work he is doing at that firm. So their mentor support is like totally a lie, it's nothing over there. But when you work in an open source software, you get a lot of mentor support. Whatever the maintainers of that open source software, whatever like the mentors of that project, they will always there, they will be always there to guide you whenever you will be stuck, and you will ask questions in the public chat or forum. They will always try to help you. Other than the core maintainers and mentors of that project, even there are other people also in that public community, in that public channel, who are always willing to help you. So they are the people who are maybe using that project, maybe contributing to that project. So they are in the community from a pretty good long time. So they can also act as a mentor for you whenever you will get stuck in that particular project. Friendly culture. As you can see that interns are the most it's the lowest position in any company or firm. So people don't treat you very nicely in large companies, because like you are at the lowest position in that firm. You don't hold any stake or any say in that company. But in case of open source, everyone is treated equally. So even if you are a contributor who has started contributing to that particular project a day ago, and someone is contributing to that project for years, that both the person will be treated equally. So that is the friendly environment and culture you will see over there. Even if you are doing something wrong, no one will going to, yeah, yell at you, no one is going to scold you, no one is going to scream at you. They will always like try to correct you that you are doing this particular pull request, you are doing this particular work in a wrong manner, or this is not the way to do this. So they will always try to like explain the reasons behind that. So that friendly environment, you will not able to get that friendly environment anywhere else. No process for selection. Obviously there are process for selection in open source programs like gsoc, mlh, etc., but there is no process of selection in contributing to open source. If I want to contribute to Mozilla right now today, so I can like just go on to the GitHub page of Mozilla, fork or clone some particular repo of Mozilla and start contributing by today. I don't need to go for any kind of process for selection. But if I want to do GSOC with Mozilla, then obviously there is a process for selection. But for contributing to open source, there is no process for selection. Whenever you feel like I should contribute to open source, I should start contributing to this particular organizations, you can do whenever you want to. No work pressure. No one is going to do like this, that you have to complete this task in this time frame. There is no work pressure like this. If you are free, you are having like weekend, and you are free, you want to invest your time somewhere doing some valuable things, you can contribute to open source. You can pick some issue, ask to the maintainer that can I go with that issue or not. I want to solve this, I want to add this feature. So if you are free, you can do. If you are having exams or something, there is like no work pressure. No one is going to say you have exam or whatever, I don't care, you have to complete this particular task in these days. So nothing like that is in the open source environment. So open source is a like culture. It is a culture that we want to promote. It is a culture that we want, like, everyone should learn that culture to work in a collaborative environment, so that they can, when they start working in some industry environment, they will get that exposure that this is how I should work in a collaborative environment. Amazing tech stacks. When you work in some low kind of startups or organization, they generally go for, like, you can go for the Android development, you can go for the web development, basic tech stacks. But when I say about tech stacks like Dockers, containers, test ng, uh, the cloud, etc. So these kind of tech stacks can only be found easily in open source. Open source has like some of the open source softwares work in very niche kind of technologies, that particular technology is used only in these kind of projects. So when you have experience of those kind of tech stacks in your resume, you become specialized for something. That I have a specialization in Dockerization, containerization, virtualization, or Google Cloud, etc. So that makes your resume stand out in the, like, जब भीड़ होती है तो वहां पर वो चीज होता है कि यार यहाँ भीड़ है, दिस पर्सन हैज समथिंग स्पेशल इन दैट resume. Increased interaction cycle. In through open source, you will get to network with a lot of people. You will have an increased interaction cycle. You will get to collaborate, connect, and contribute with people from all over the world, and with a diversity in their culture, with the diversity in like age, race, gender, everything. So you will get to connect with a lot of people, and with a different perspective of minds, and different way of creating the softwares, etc. So you will get to learn a lot of things from a different perspective also. Programs involved in open source. So when I say about open source, mostly the student community has this common question, where I can participate and all. So these are some of the programs involved in open source, but these are few open source programs. These are not like the only open source programs. We have a list of a lot of other open source programs also, that are not famous but that are worthy to participate in. Here's like the list of the famous ones: GSOC, Outreach, RGSOC, MLH Fellowship, Hacktoberfest, that is right now going on. MLH Fellowship applications are open. The Linux Foundation 2 and 3 projects applications are open. Girl Script, Summer of Code. So these are few open source program, but there is a long list of other open source programs also. Even Khushi can share the link in the chat box of other open source programs that will be like worthy to participate in, and to start your contribution through the motivation of like getting selected in that programs. But don't make this mentality of like making GSOC, Outreach, etc. As J means an advanced kind of competitions. It's you should have a competitive spirit, but not like I have to get selected in that programs and that's why I'll do this. You have that you should have that feeling, that zeal, that I have to contribute to open source. That should be the main motive behind contributing to open source, that I want to increase my skills, I want to enhance my resume, I really want to contribute to some open source software. Prerequisites for contributing in open source. So whenever someone asks, like, I know C and C++, I know basic Java, I know basic Python, can I contribute in open source, can I contribute in this? I know basic of like HTML, CSS, or maybe Node.js, can I contribute in open source? So the main answer which I'll give to them, particular person, is that these are the prerequisite for contributing in open source. No exact tech stack is required for contributing in open source. If you have that zeal, if you have that feeling in yourself that I can contribute to open source, I want to contribute in open source, and I can learn whatever will be required to participate in that particular organization or in that particular program. If you have that feeling that I'll learn this thing, that if I am a Java developer, and if I want to contribute to Fedora, and I know that Fedora is based on a Python, uh, Fedora is an organization that is based on Python, but if I really want to contribute to Fedora and I am open to learn anything that will be required to contribute in that, so that is not the issue that I don't know Python. I will learn that on the go while using that software, while going through the code base of that particular software. So that's not the issue that you don't know the particular tech stacks. But if you are lacking any of the key features mentioned here, then that is some issue that is really a concern to think about. That is really a matter to think about. So whatever, these are the main things that really required for contributing in open source. Polite nature. If you are a person who goes to the like public channel of some kind of open source and introduce yourself, that I am Ekta, I am from this college, I have created these many projects, I have participated in these kind of hackathons, I have won these many hackathons, I have contributed to past many organization, been to GCI, been to GSOC, etc., etc. So if you are bragging about yourself a lot in the public channel without like, you are just giving your introduction by this way, no one is gonna reply on your message, and no one cares about what you have done in the past. Whatever your identity will be, will that identity will totally depend on the type of contributions you will make in that particular organization. So what kind of contributions you make for that organization, how efficiently you work for that organization, that defines yourself, not the introduction you are posting in the public channel of that organization. No one will going to reply you, no one is going to welcome you if you just like ping that I am Ekta Mishra, and I know Java, core Java, and other something JavaScript or anything which is required for the organization for that sake, and I am interested to contribute to this particular project or organization. Can you please help me in getting started with this? So if you just post like a simple introduction with your name and the tech stack you know, and you are willing to contribute to that particular organization, definitely some kind of like mentors or maintainers of that project will reply, or maybe other people in the group will reply to your message that these are the good first issues, these are the issues in which help is wanted, these are the basic issues, these are the first time or only issues from where you can start contributing. So have that polite nature. Consistency. For example, you have invested a lot of time while setting up a particular project. You have choose a particular project, maybe a project from Fedora. You have picked that project and you have invested a lot of time in just setting up that particular project. And you are saying that you have invested like 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, so 4 days, 5 days in just setting up that particular project locally in your system, and you are not getting success in that particular thing. You are not even able to setting up. So how you can start using that project? How you can start contributing to that project? So that might be an issue, and at that time you will feel frustrated. You will feel like I should quit at this time. But believe me, if you quit at that particular moment, that's the over, that is the end point of your open source career. You will not be able to restart that thing with again restart that thing with some other organization, with some other project. Maybe if that project is not like really not interesting you, so your interest doesn't rely in that particular project and you want to switch, that's still okay. But if you are quitting that just because you are not able to do well in that project, so that might be the case that you will not go to the track of open source never again in your life. So at that time, believe me that when I started contributing to outreach, I had that mindset in my mind that I have been connected and advocating about open source for a very long time. Now I should be the part of some kind of open source program. So at that time, I chose outreach, that this year I should participate in outreach. So it was Jan 2020 when I decided that I have to participate in outreach. So at that time, I am a Java developer. I mainly do competitive programming, data structures, algorithms, and open source contributions. Everything mainly in Java, but I know other tech stacks also, but mainly in Java. So I have that like special corner in my heart for Java. So I was searching for Java project in the list of project released by Outreach, but mainly the projects were based on like Docker and web and Python, etc. So I pick a project named as Ceph. So Ceph is an open source organization that is supported by Red Hat Enterprises. So earlier I have also worked with JBoss community. So JBoss is also supported by Red Hat. So I thought like I'll get some connections which who will help me in getting started with Ceph organization or Ceph project. So there was a project named as Truthology based on Python, and I was also like proficient enough in Python too. So I decided if not Java, then I should go with the Python project. So I started contributing in or setting up the not contributing, setting up the project Ceph. So it took around 22 days for me to just like start like just setting up that project, and I was not able to get success in setting up that project locally in my system. I was able to set up that project on AWS virtual machines. So I created 3 virtual machines and connected them through networks. Like I created some monitors, some clusters of Ceph, and in that I read about like Red Hat future storage, cluster storage, open storage, block storage, etc. I read a lot of things about Ceph. I got to know about a lot of new technologies that are being used in Ceph. So Ceph is like very different thing. If you are a normal person, you will not be able to like work in these kind of technologies. So I invested like 22 days and still didn't get success, and after 22 days, when I have invested my 22 days in setting up that particular project, and now I have started using that project, and I was thinking to do my outreach internship in that particular organization. That particular organization backed out, and they said that we are not going to hire any intern for this cohort. So at that time, what should I have to do? Like what should I would have done ki, one thing that I can quit at that time, I could have quit at that time, or second thing, like I have switched to another program. So I had this in my mind back then that I'm not going to I'm not going to be selected in this outreach internship, at least not in this particular round. Maybe in future rounds, maybe, but not in this round, because I have not chose any of the project, and I have not started contributing to any of the projects. So what should I do? I should quit. So I didn't quit at that time. I just switched to some other organization, and at that time I switched to Open Refine organization. It was like the contribution period was going to start in just 3 days, and I switched my organization. It was something, some people may call it as a foolish step, and some people may call it as a courageous step, but I did that because I didn't want to quit at that time. So that is the main thing. And if someone says that I have wasted my 22 days, so sorry, I have not wasted my 22 days. I have learned a lot of new things while contributing to particular organization, while setting up that particular project. Whenever you get stuck in some kind of errors and you google about that particular error, so you are not wasting your hours. Some errors may take for from few minutes to few hours for in resolving that particular error. But while resolving that error, you google through you google them, those errors, you surf through like thousands of pages, hundreds of pages, and you get to learn about many new things, that this error can arise due to these kind of reasons. So whenever a next person will going to stuck with that same error, you are going to help that person, and you are not going to stuck with that error uh, never again in your life. So that is something you have learned through that particular time period. You have not wasted your time. So I will not say that I have wasted my 22 days. So never feel like you are useless, you are not able to move forward in that particular direction, you are not able to do something productive, your time is getting wasted. No, your time is never getting wasted while you are trying to contribute in open source. You are learning every day, you are learning every bit every time you try. So determination, keep that determination that I have to do this, I have to do this at any cost. So make a time management schedule, how you have to manage your time, that you have to also go for your DSA, your competitive programming also, you have to increase your dev side also, and you have to manage your college, your assignments, projects too. You have to attend your classes to maintain your attendance percentage also. Helping attitude, when you were a beginner in some kind of organization, you would definitely get some helps while you were trying to set up your project, or you are trying to resolve your first issue. You have picked a good first issue and you are trying to draft a pull request for that particular issue. So when you get stuck, you will always get help through the maintainers, other co-contributors of that organization, or maybe from some other admins, or maybe some of your friends, etc. So you have got help from others while you were beginner in the community, or you were beginning in the open source career. So never forget that help you have got at your early stage. So always have that helping attitude in yourself too, that when you have become comfortable in a particular project, you have become comfortable with Git and GitHub, and other person is struggling with that particular thing, have that nature in yourself, have that volunteer thing in yourself, that if someone is stuck in anything in which you can help, even if you can help like 10%, just volunteer that thing and help that person. Don't think like, if maybe I'm going to give him a wrong advice, maybe I will uh, stuck him more. So don't make those kind of mentality. If you can help that person even 10%, do it. If you can help him with like resolving their merge conflicts, helping them setting up their project through Git and GitHub or anything. If you can help in resolving their virtual environment errors, etc., do that. So helping attitude matters a lot in open source. If you are helping other new contributors or beginners in the public channel of a community, that is something which the maintainers and core contributors of that project will definitely notice, and that will make your chance increase, that will make your proposal outstand when they will review the proposals for like outreach and GSO, that this person has a helping attitude, select this particular person. So they will not select a person who have high skills but a high attitude. They will select a person with a mediocre skills but a great helping attitude, a great polite nature. So always keep these point in your mind. How to select the project? Whenever I take like sessions on open source, I have like taken about 6 to 7 open source sessions till now. So and 2 3 based on outreachy, one is like Git and GitHub also. So people generally ask that how to choose a project, how to like go for the project. So if you want to select a project and you want to get the list of project, the main thing is you can go to the GSOC page, Google Summer of Code. So Google Summer of Code page and go to the organizations tab, and there you will get the organizations which has participated in 2020, 2019, 2018, etc. The organizations, their projects, their idea list, etc. From there you can get an idea which organizations generally participate in GSOC, in MLH, in outreachy, etc. So there's like about 200 organizations. So that's a large amount of organization, and you will get organization of each and every category, each field, each tech stack, etc. If you want to work with Python, Java, Golang, C++, Linux, curl, anything, whatever you know, you can get an organization or a project related to that particular thing. You are a web developer, you are an Android developer, you are like interested in DevOps, whatever, you can get an organization, you can get a project from there, which will match your interest. So always go for like project and organization which matches your interest. Explore your own interest, that something, sometimes do web development, invest your sometime learning Android development, learning DevOps, etc. Few days or maybe few weeks, and explore in which field you are interested in, which skills are you comfortable with. So choose the project which has the skills or needed, or which has the tech stack that is that in which you are interested, or maybe that particular tech stack you are keen to learn, that particular tech stack, that even if you don't know that particular tech stack right now, but you are willing to learn that particular tech stack. uh, just go for an example. Your friend has been a contributor in Mozilla, and Mozilla mainly has projects based on web. So you are also thinking to contribute in Mozilla, but you are an Android developer, and Mozilla doesn't have any Android project. So you have decided to contribute to Mozilla just because the fact that your friend is also contributing to Mozilla. At that time, what will happen, even if you will be able to create a good proposal for GSOC, you are able to make some kind of contributions, but you are not totally interested in that project because you are interested in Android and that project is based on web. You are not interested, but you have somehow made some quality contributions, you have somehow made a good final proposal for GSOC, so you get selected in GSOC. Then the real story will begin, and you will feel a lot frustrated while contributing to that project in which you are not interested at all, and you have to contribute to that particular project for 3 months at any cost, because at that time you don't have a chance to step back. Step back means you will get failed in GSOC, you will be not be approved. They have like this uh, pass and fail thing every 1 month. So after 1 month they will approve which students has passed the first phase, which student doesn't. So step back means you will fail the GSOC, which is the worst and worst scenario in case of open source, that you got selected as a GSOC student and then you got failed in first phase or second phase or the final phase of that GSOC project. So always explore your own interest, which skills are you comfortable with, that I am comfortable with Java or I am comfortable with Python, so I will go for those projects. Go for the organization whose philosophy matches with you. Even if you go for a project whose tech stack is something that you don't know, but their philosophy matches with yours, like you are interested in that particular project, so you can go with that project and learn the things required in that particular project on the go. So that is not a problem. But if you are like following some others and you are not going according to your interest in the in selection of projects and organization, then that is something really to take care of that part, that don't do these kind of things. This is the major do's and don'ts that you should always keep in your mind while choosing your projects and organization. This is the like very important part while contributing to some open source organization. 3 steps to kickstart, like how you should start. You have chosen your project. For now I am assuming that you have chosen your project. So now how you should start. What generally people do, they directly jump on the code base and they try to like read thousands of files in a major open source project. If I go for like some project in JBoss or something, they have thousands of files. So that is not possible that you will be able to read like a book, like a thesis, to all those 1,000 files. And even if you are able to read all the code base, all the 1,000 files, that 1,000 files will not make any sense to you. You will be more confused, you will be more depressed, that how I'll be able to contribute to this much large project, which is using, I don't know what all annotations, beans, etc. in their projects. So that will make you more confused, and that will make your mindset like, I will never be able to contribute to open source. So the what is the process to start? First, you have chosen your project, then set up that project locally, go through the documentation, readme part of that particular project, and you will be able to see how you can set up that particular project and use. So that is the major thing, how you can set up that project. And if you, once you have successfully set up the project, in 90% of cases when you go for some new project, you will definitely get stuck while setting up your project. And that's not issue. If you are stuck, that is the sign that you are trying to attempt, you are trying to make an attempt, you are trying to do something, you are trying to contribute in open source. So that is not something to worry about, that is something to celebrate about. So if you are stuck, don't hesitate, just join the public channels, join the public channel of that community. Every organization, open source organization generally has their public channels, as Gitter channel, or Gitter, Slack, Zulip chat, or maybe IRC channels, etc. So every organization has their public channels. You can directly go to those public channels. Don't DM to the core contributors, don't directly message or private message to the core contributors and maintainers of that project. That is a very bad attitude. It's like, never ever do this thing. So never go for the private messages. Whenever you are stuck, ask smartly, ask a question very smartly, that you have tried these steps mentioned in the documentation, and now you are stuck with this error. You have tried to Google that error, you have tried to search that error online, to get some help online, and you were not able to solve that particular thing. Can anyone in the like channel help me in resolving this that error? So those errors which you encounter while setting up your project locally is something very common, that every new beginner or user of that particular project generally encounters. So they will definitely reply to your query, and they will definitely help you resolve that query. Once you have completely set up your project, without setting up the project locally completely, don't go on to the code base or anything else. This is the prime most step. Set up the project locally and start using it, because when you are not a user of something, you will not be able to become the contributor of that particular thing. For example, let's suppose WhatsApp is open source. Although WhatsApp is not open source, I am just taking an example that WhatsApp is an open source project and you want to contribute to WhatsApp. You want to change the blue ticks in the WhatsApp for the seen messages to red ticks. But how will you do that? Like, does the maintainer will accept your suggestion that blue tick should be changed to red ticks? If you are not aware of that fact, that what signifies for the blue tick, how can you change that? Because red is a sign of danger, and blue and green is something that is that signifies okay thing. So you can't change blue to red. So if you are not user of WhatsApp, you will never get the idea that why that is made blue, why that is made single, then double gray ticks, and then blue ticks. So always be the user of a particular project. If you don't know what this feature is, when this particular function strikes, what it does, you will never be able to contribute to that project. When you will start to use that project, then only you will get to know that these are the bugs in this project, I can go with these bugs. So you can target those bugs, that this is something very beginner kind of thing, it has some broken links in it, I can resolve this. So when you will start using a particular project, then only you will get to know that yes, I can change these things. So always become the user of that project first. Once you have been using that project comfortably, you have become a comfortable user of that project, then jump on the code base, explore the code base, and pick a good first issue. Go with the good first issue. So in good first issue, in general organization, good first issues are those issues in which the issue is very well defined, that the solution to solve that particular small issue is already defined in that particular issue. The steps you have to take to resolve that issue is already mentioned in that particular issue. You can directly go into the issue, read carefully what the issue is about, how you can resolve, and you will get the answer in itself. Even after reading the description of a good first issue, you are a bit confused how to resolve, you can discuss about the issue in the comment section of that issue. Once you are clear, that you can start your first pull request. You can draft a pull request and ask for the review to the maintainers, and don't like continuously ping that review my pull request. No, you can, there is an option to request review. You can just request review. So many times we have difference in time zone. I am working in India, the other person in US, the other person in Europe, Turkey, anywhere. So that person can be anywhere. My maintainer was from France and Peru, so that person has a difference in time zone. So obviously when you are in your comfortable time, like this is 7 p.m., 8 p.m., this is my working time, that might not be their working hours. So understand this feeling, understand that there might be some difference in time zone when you work in open source, because people are from various community with diverse backgrounds, with distances. So always understand these things. Just request a review once, and whenever he will be free, he will get the time to review your pull request, he will do that, and he will definitely review your request. If you will irritate that other person by again and again requesting him to review my request, review my pull request, he will just ignore your pull request, and maybe after getting frustrated he can close your pull request. So whatever I have mentioned earlier, that be polite, be kind, so these are the key features while working in the open source. If you don't have that kind of attitude, that you don't have the polite nature, you don't have a determination, you don't have consistency, but you have skills, then just go for your personal projects. Create your own good personal project, but don't go for open source, because open source is a kind of culture. It's much more than a way of development. It's a way of development, it's a way of software development, it's a way of creating computer software which has certain special features. But much more than open source is a culture that is going to imbibe in future to like everyone. So these were the basic steps. So that was all from my side. If any one of you have any questions, you can just ask, you can ping. Even if Khushi wants to ask, and if Khushi has some prior questions regarding open source, she can ask. And if some kind of questions or queries you don't want to ask here publicly or anything, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, anywhere. You can mail me. So these are the common handles. Like don't DM on Instagram or anything. One girl has like DM me on Facebook Messenger for reviewing her outreachy proposal, and I saw her request like 10 days after the date she messaged me. So don't use those kind of platforms, preferably Twitter and LinkedIn, if you want to connect with me or ask any kind of doubts. So yeah, so I'll like end stop screen. Okay, Kushi, so do you have any questions?
Yeah, so we have one question actually. So it's how to use open source to earn an internship with a company.
To earn an internship with a company, so first of all, you can get an internship through the programs, through the open source program I already mentioned. Like if you do GSOC, if you do outreach, if you do MLH, RGSOC, and Linux community bridge program, etc. So these programs are considered very well as internships. So this is the first thing. The other thing, if you have some past open source experience of contributing to Mozilla or something, or any big organization, and you mentioned that you have been a core contributor of, or a contributor, and added these kind of features, removed or resolved these kind of bugs in that particular project, you add those things in your resume. Your resume is like the resume goes from here to here, so that becomes easy for the interviewer, for the HR to filter your resume first. I have seen that change in my resume, because when I was trying for getting an internship in the starting of my second year, my resume was something like blank blank blank, mostly the 12th percentage, the btech percentage, that I am university topper, ye wo 12th percentage, and these kind of things. And I have some skills in Java, I have some skills for DSA, and these are some minor projects like blog app, chat app, etc. These were the projects. So that was all about my resume earlier, back then, when I was like starting of second year. But after you have done significant contributions in open source, your resume outshines everywhere. So that will really help you in get your internships with product based companies also. Although the product based companies have a special path for the internship, they focus more on DSA, competitive programming mostly. But before moving to the technical round, technical interview, they first focus on the resume shortlisting, because every day thousands of people apply for internship or full time opportunities in product based company. But those whose resume got shortlisted, only these people get the chance to go for the technical rounds.
Okay. Okay. So we have another question. If we successfully contribute in some project, then can I show it as an internship in my college? Like in third year, we have to do. So normally it's more like about if we contribute to something. So can we show it under the internship section?
Okay, so the Panshu, in second year end, we have like industrial training, where you have to show a project that you have completed during your industrial training. So at that time, the college faculty demands for an certificate also. So when you contribute to some organizations like JBoss, Open Refine, Open Wisp, Red Hat, etc., so they generally don't provide certificates for your contributions. But like you can create a certificate doing a Photoshop or anything, but definitely you can show your potential work as an internship. If you have done like a lot of things, you have contributed for a good period of time, you have contributed for like 3 months and added a lot of features, resolved a lot of bugs, then only you can show them as an internship. If you have just like made 2 3 PRs and you have made some minor contributions, I don't think you can like write it as an internship. But you can definitely add it as your work experience when you have done a number of PRs, when you have added a number of features in that particular project. You can definitely add it as a work experience. I have seen many resume where people are not selected for some particular programs, like in GSOC, about 3,000 people apply, and generally they select like 200 300 students only. So what about the other students who have made significant contributions in the organization? They can still be the part of that organization and mention your pull request. You can add the link for your pull request in the title of your work experience, that being contributor to Open Refine or being contributor to Mozilla or anything. So you can definitely add that as work experience.
Okay, great. So I guess that's all that we have. Thank you so much, Ekta. It was indeed a great session. And to all the audience out there, thank you so much for coming here. And it was a great session with Ekta. And we hope you did something, you did learn something. And yeah, so
Yeah.
subscribe to our Zubi's YouTube channel, and if you have any other questions or if any other doubts, you can reach out to Ekta on her LinkedIn profile or on her social media profiles as she mentioned. And thank you so much for coming out here. We'll be upload. Do not forget to download our app as well. So Zubi app is has been launched, and it's an actually sustainable ecosystem for all the audience out there, for all the students out there, and we will be uploading many much more interesting events out there. So don't forget to download our app and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Thank you so much, Ekta, and thank you so much out there to everyone who has came and joined. Thank you.
Thank you, Khushi, for inviting me. Thank you. It was pleasure for me to join you. Yeah. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye.